What's up, nerds? Break out the guy liner and bust out those Taking Back Sunday CDs, because this week we're getting nostalgic. If you had an emo phase, I need you to like this video and comment down below what your favorite emo anthems were. I'm Mike Dangerous, and this is Talking Shots. I have a confession to make. When I was in high school, I was a little nerdy, hipster, metalhead theater boy, and I really didn't have my emo phase until later in life. 2020 was a life-changing year for a lot of people, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that went back and revisited music from a simpler time. If you're my age, you probably found yourself revisiting your pop-punk and emo roots. Whether it was blasting Blink-182 from a stereo outside of a local mall trying to do kickflips, or listening to Helena by NCR on your iPod Nano because your prom date canceled on you. Hashtag not a true story. Pop punk and emo seem to be the soundtrack to many a suburban high schools. My Chemical Romance in particular released what many consider to be the Bohemian Rhapsody of our generation with The Black Parade, that album being a milestone for the genre. Now, we'll get back to The Black Parade in a second, because I think first it's important to dissect what exactly emo means. Emo doesn't actually do a whole lot when it comes to describing the music. It's kind of like vaporwave in the sense where everything from Macintosh Plus to Blank Banshee to Young Bay all fall under the vaporwave umbrella, but stylistically and sonically, they're all very different. Death Cab sounds nothing like Fall Out Boy, which sounds nothing like Pierce the Veil. So without getting too pedantic into genre theory, it's obvious that emo borrows stylistically from many different genres, from hardcore to pop punk to metalcore to sad white boy acoustic stuff. It's just the why I ain't told yet. Seriously, check out Pat the Bunny. It more so describes a period in rock music as opposed to describing one specific sound. However, even within that, there seems to be this unspoken rule as to what is and isn't emo. For example, grunge shares a lot stylistically with the emo genre, but never really gets clumped in with that. Hell, there's a lot of debate as to whether or not it's even a punk subgenre, and punk encompasses a lot. There's a punk band called Days and Days that is literally just a washboard, a trumpet, an acoustic guitar, and one of those like wash tub bass things. That's a punk band, and they're amazing, and you need to check them out immediately.
So call me antisocial, call it masturbation. Either way, it's a solo operation. I'm just far more comfortable.
Even bands that share some emo stylistic tendencies are rarely considered emo. Two bands that I can think of growing up, for example, were Bullet for My Valentine and Trivium. Yes, I know these are considered metal bands first and foremost, but Bullet for My Valentine found its way into many emo party playlists back in my day. Trivium, not so much, even though stylistically they were pretty similar, especially early on. There was even a time when they were both branded as metalcore bands. So why the discrepancy? Well, for that, I think it's important that we look back at one of the most influential bands of the whole emo scene. Brand New is interesting to talk about because if you listen to their albums in order back to back, you'd be pretty confused because stylistically each album is very different from the last. Their first album, Your Favorite Weapon, is standard angry teenager ex-boyfriend pop-punk affair, which might I add has some of the catchiest pop-punk songs ever written on it. The tone is pretty fitting too, considering that Brand New started because of a high school breakup. It wouldn't be a Brand New video if I didn't mention the notorious Taking Back Sunday Brand New feud, now would it? For those not in the know, for early 2000s small-town band drama, Brand New frontman Jesse Lacey was in a band with Taking Back Sunday guitarist John Nolan called The Rookie Lot. Long story short, Nolan slept with Lacey's girlfriend, and Jesse was so pissed, he started a whole-ass band. Dude, imagine starting a world-renowned rock band out of spite. Hell, that's why I started this YouTube channel. Natalia, where you at? And these guys were young too, and that is really reflected in that first album. After a few years of touring and some more adult experiences dealing with record labels and just growing up in general, they released their second album, Deja Entendu, an album that has definitely grown up since their high school breakup origins. While musically the band matured, they didn't grow up past the emo trope of having really long song names. My favorite example is a song called It's Good to Know That If I Ever Need Attention, All I Have to Do Is Die. If that's not emo, I don't know what is. It's almost as bad as Cute without the E, parentheses, cut from the team. Although honestly, Good to Know is probably one of my favorite emo songs of all time. The band would follow this up with, in my opinion, their best record and one of my favorite records of all time, The Devil and God Are Raging Inside Me. By far their most introspective and darkest album. The saddest part is that Jesse Lacey would later go on to admit that he was really disappointed with this release because a lot of the demos for this album were leaked online. Which is a shame because this album really is incredible as it is. The name comes from a quote by Daniel Johnston, a musician who suffered from schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Definitely a departure from the album where the closing song is this. But I think that's the appeal of Brand New. They're a band that grew up with their audience. While most other bands of this time struggled to maintain a foothold in an ever-changing music landscape, Brand New handled change with style and grace, which made the allegations against Jesse Lacey all the more heartbreaking. As it turns out, somebody who poured their emotions, and by extension our emotions, somebody who we related to on such a deep level, did awful things and hurt a lot of people. And unfortunately, Jesse's not the only example. There's a reason there's a running joke that pop punk songs are all about the lead singer's high school girlfriends. Part of growing up is realizing that the people you looked up to sometimes aren't who you thought they were. I think as we all got older and realized that a lot of us outgrew the genre, and aside from a few examples like Brand New, the genre couldn't grow up with us. However, again like Vaporwave, while the meme definitely got old, what come from it definitely did not. Going back to the Black Parade, MCR took many inspirations from concept albums like The Wall and Ziggy Stardust's 5 Years. The album tells the story of a dying patient reflecting on past loves and his own mortality. The album's presentation is equally as theatrical, hence why a bunch of theater tweens like myself couldn't get enough of it. Remember how I said that the Black Parade was very much the Bohemian Rhapsody of our generation? That was very much intentional. The song itself borrows heavily from Queen's A Night at the Opera and even has some Broadway-esque influences in its writing. It's almost built to have you sing along to it, and trust me, play it in a room of sad 20-somethings like me and I guarantee you, everybody's singing along. They are. God, I really hope I didn't just speak a Black Parade musical into existence. Didn't work with Green Day, probably won't work here. Unless... like this video if you want me to write the Black Parade musical. Wouldn't be the first pop-punk musical I've written. That's a joke you guys don't get yet. Ooh. Anyway, the Black Parade as an album is more than the emo shenanigans and catchy songs. It's a hopeful expression about going on with life as difficult as it may be. And for many, it was what got us through our adolescence, and for many, will get us through one of the most emotionally taxing times in our lives so far. And it's something that goes beyond nostalgia. Nostalgia is great for trends, but for styles and genres to really return, there has to be something there, something with a little more substance. And we're not talking about the New Order album. Well, not yet at least. I just wanted to show this off. That'll be for a different video for a different day. With a global pandemic that is incredibly taxing for our relationships, finances, and even way of life, many of us are going to turn to the music that brought us comfort through the trauma and uncertainty of growing up. And that's what timeless music should do. It's a collective safety blanket we all return to when life gets hard. It's understanding and catharsis on a societal level. Or maybe it's just a bunch of nerds who are really bored and just really want to wear some guy liner. Not me, though. It's not me at all. So what do you think? Do you think emo is going to make a comeback? What are some of your favorite emo anthems? Don't forget to sound off in the comments down below. If you like what we do, you can help me in my journey to buy some guyliner by supporting us on Patreon. As always, don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe. You can always check out this video over here for some other cool stuff. I believe last week we talked about Lady Dimitrescu, and the week before that we were talking about your boy Lil Nas X. I'm your boy Mike Dangerous, and this is Talking Shots.